This is a CAD drawing of a helical coil spring, where this particular coil spring has the end coils squared and ground flat. And so the last coil in the loop is squared off, and then we grind them flat, both at the top and the bottom. And so when we look at this coil spring, we have to count the number of coils. We start at the bottom. We go one 360-degree loop around. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we have 8 total coils in this helical coil spring. And right off the bat, you see that this is going to be problematic because we don't have complete coils at the top and the bottom. And so we're going to end up using the table in the book to determine the number of active coils. Well, we can run a finite element simulation and apply loads to the top and fix the bottom and look at how this coil spring deflects as a function of the applied load. I'm running this simulation using a COMSOL multi-physics program. And when I do that, I can apply a deflection to the top side. I can measure the load associated with that deflection. And I can actually look at the stresses that are developing inside the coil spring. And I can measure the load displacement relationship. I'm going to show an animation of that finite element simulation now. So we apply load, and you'll notice something important here, and that is these 6 coils in the middle are carrying much higher load than are the end coils. The other thing that you will notice is there is a contact stress between the squared end and the coil immediately adjacent to it. Those contact stresses are both at the top and at the bottom. You will also notice that the shear stresses are highest along the interior portion of the coils, just as we had discussed previously. This Excel spreadsheet shows the force displacement relationship extracted from the COMSOL multi-physics finite element simulation on this squared ground helical coil spring we just showed. You will note that the load on the y-axis is plotted against the displacement in millimeters. And so the slope of a best fit line to these data gives us the spring stiffness in newtons per millimeter. In this case, the equation for the best fit line is shown here, and we end up with a stiffness of roughly 13.8 newtons per millimeter. You will notice this is not a perfectly linear relationship because as we compress the coil spring, we get contact between the coils, which causes a stiffening of that spring. It's not surprising at all that the results of this simulation might not agree completely with the Castigliano's estimation of the spring stiffness. I show here again the Castigliano's estimate for the spring stiffness K in terms of the wire diameter lowercase d, the shear modulus, and the coil diameter capital D, as well as the number of coils in the coil spring. And that number of coils becomes the thing that is questionable in this particular equation. This is a simplification, so it's not surprising that it won't match perfectly what we would get either experimentally or through a finite element simulation. But in this case, we're going to use a wire diameter of 2.2 millimeters, a coil diameter of 12.8 millimeters, and we'll look at 2 different values for the number of coils in the coil spring. We will also use a shear modulus of 80 gigapascals. We plug those things into the Castigliano's estimation and calculate the spring stiffness, which we will then compare to the finite element model. If we use the total number of turns equal to 8, and then we adjust that number of turns using table 10.1 from the Shigley book, where we see that the number of active coils for squared ground ends is 2 less than the total number of counted coils. If we do that, we find that the number of active coils would be 6. If we use the value of 6 in that estimation for the spring stiffness, we find that our estimated spring stiffness is 18.6 newtons per millimeters, which is much larger than what we got out of the finite element simulation. If we use the total number of turns, n equal 8, we find that our estimated spring stiffness is 13.95 newtons per millimeter, which is in much better better agreement with what we got out of the finite element simulation. The bottom line takeaway here is that this equation is an approximation. If you can get within 10% of what you experimentally measure, that's an excellent approximation. It is strongly dependent upon the number of active turns that you're going to use in your calculation to estimate the spring stiffness.